Model United Nations, or MUN, is simply an academic simulation of the United Nations. An individual's primary goal within any MUN conference is to learn about current affairs and diplomacy. As a delegate, you represent a nation and its policies. By following your role, you negotiate and debate current issues in the hopes that the product of your negotiations is not against your nation's policies. So, how does debate proceed? Sessions begin with roll call. When your delegation is called by the dais, you may say,
Present.
or you may say,
Present and voting.
when a delegate states that he or she is present, they are stating that they are allowing themselves to abstain in voting. When a delegate states that he or she is present in voting, they are stating that they will not abstain in voting.
Are there any points or motions on the floor? Atlantis?
The Kingdom of Atlantis motions to...
Following roll call, the agenda is either set by the delegates by means of voting procedure or follows a preset order. If there is no unanimous agreement on setting the agenda, a provisional speakers list consisting of 2 speakers for and 2 speakers against may be established. Once the speakers list is exhausted, delegates move on to voting procedure. Once the agenda is set, the dais opens a speakers list. Delegates raise their placards in order to notify the chair that they would like to be placed on the list. The dais chooses a set amount of delegates to go on the speakers list. The first delegate chosen goes first, the second delegate goes second, and so on. Remember, at all times, when the speakers list expires, the dais moves directly into voting procedure, which will be discussed later in this video.
Because these emails come every day from different people asking me to donate 5.
As the speakers list progresses, delegates may motion for either a moderated or an unmoderated caucus.
Are there any points or motions on the floor? Brazil?
Motion for a 10-minute unmoderated caucus for the...
A moderated caucus is when delegates discuss the agenda item in a moderated manner. This means that the chair moderates speakers' time and decides when delegates can speak from those raising their placards. Only one delegate may speak at a time. Delegates in moderated caucuses do their best to make their points clear and convincing. It's about persuading other delegates to advocate your position.
We're now in a 10-minute unmoderated caucus.
During unmoderated caucuses, delegates may leave their seats to negotiate with their fellow delegates. Delegates do not have to use parliamentary language, and discussions between delegates are therefore more informal. Unmoderated caucuses also allows delegates to review, edit, and write working papers. Whenever a delegate brings up a motion, the motion must have a time limit and a purpose. This allows the dais to evaluate the motion and change the motion accordingly if necessary. A motion for a moderated caucus, for example, has a requested time limit of 20 minutes to discuss a certain aspect of the issue at hand.
Saudi Arabia?
Saudi Arabia would like to vote a motion for a 10-minute moderated caucus with 45-second speaking time for the purposes of discussing rising sea levels for the Atlantean people.
That's in order. Are there any other points or motions?
If delegates wish to communicate while debate is in progress, they may pass notes. Delegates simply write their own delegation name, who they're sending the note to, and their message. Delegates are also free to exchange notes with the dais. The page, an individual who administers note passing, collects the notes by the delegates, scans for any inappropriate material, and passes the note to whomever the delegate wants. Beware, an inappropriate note may be sent to the dais and read out loud immediately or towards the end of the session. Working papers are documents that contain at least one preambulatory clause and one activating clause in a formal format. Working papers are usually written during unmoderated caucuses. If no working papers are submitted after the first number of caucuses, more discussion via moderated or unmoderated caucus is required to write up working papers. Approved working papers become draft resolutions. The delegation that submitted the working paper becomes the main submitter and/or sponsor. Signatories want to see the draft resolution to be discussed and voted on. In order for a draft resolution to be presented to the forum, about 10 to 20%, depending on the conference, of delegations in the forum must be signatories of the draft resolution. Draft resolutions are debated on in a formal debate. Delegates motion to the dais to set a time period for debating on draft resolutions.
India,
Once no more draft resolutions need to be discussed, delegates may motion to move into a voting block to vote on all draft resolutions. The room doors are closed and nobody may enter or exit the room during voting procedure. Delegates may vote in favor, against, or abstain from a draft resolution. Remember, delegates who have stated that they are present during roll call may choose to abstain on draft resolutions. Once all draft resolutions are voted on within one topic, the following topic is brought to discussion.